Have you ever stared at a really complex medical term and just felt totally lost? Well, it turns out there's a kind of secret color code hidden inside a lot of these words. And once you know the code, you can unlock what they mean. So let's start deciphering.
For me, this whole fascination started way back in elementary school. I remember this one science experiment, watching a single dot of purple ink on a piece of filter paper just bloom into this rainbow of separate colors. It seriously felt like magic, revealing all these hidden parts right there in front of my eyes.
And that magic, it actually has a name: chromatography. It literally means color writing, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. Just like that experiment reveals the hidden colors in a mixture, we're going to use the color roots in medical language to reveal the hidden meaning in these really complicated sounding terms. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to start our decoding journey with two of the most basic, most fundamental colors that our bodies use to send us signals: red and blue. Okay, first prefix for our new toolkit is erythro. This comes from the Greek word for red. So from now on, when you see this, I want you to just think red. And this is where we get to put that first key to use. So you see a word like erythrocytes. Let's try saying it together. Erythrocytes. Erythro. Red. These are our red blood cells, the ones doing that super important job of carrying oxygen around our body. Then you've got erythroderma. Try this one, erythroderma. That's a condition where the skin turns, you guessed it, red. And this code isn't just in Greek. The Latin word ruber also means red, and that gives us rubella, which you might know as German measles, named for its signature little red rash.
Now let's move on to our next color and see how this all builds. Our next prefix is cyano, and that comes from the Greek word for blue. So this prefix, cyano, it points to a pretty serious medical sign, cyanosis. Let's get that pronunciation down. Cyanosis. One more time. Cyanosis. This describes what happens when skin gets a bluish tint because it's not getting enough oxygen. And if you're a mystery fan, you've definitely come across this. I mean, how many times in an Agatha Christie novel is the victim's blue skin the big clue that points to poison or suffocation? It's a classic. Okay, so we've got red and we've got blue. Pretty good start. Now, let's expand our palette a little bit and add a few more colors to our decoding toolkit.
All right, let's add 3 more colors to the mix. First up is purpura. Let's sound that one out. Purpura. This describes those purple spots you can get from bleeding under the skin. Next is chloro, which means green. You definitely know this one from chlorophyll in plants, but it also gives the greenish-yellow gas chlorine its name. And finally, we have xantho, meaning yellow. We see this in the word xanthoma. Give it a shot. Xanthoma. These are yellowish deposits of cholesterol that can form under the skin. Now, speaking of yellow, I have a question for you. Have you ever gone through a phase of eating a ton of carrots or maybe tangerines and then looked down at your hands and thought, wait, are my palms kind of orange? If you said yes, then you have actually experienced carotenemia. I totally remember this happening to me as a kid. I ate an entire bag of tangerines in one day and I completely freaked out when I saw my hands and feet had turned yellow. My mom just laughed at me. Turns out it's a completely harmless condition that comes from an excess of beta-carotene. Let's try that name. Carotenemia. It's tied directly to the carotenes in those colorful foods. This exact same thing actually led to a pretty big media story in the UK back in 1999. There was a young girl whose skin turned this distinct yellow-orange color because she was drinking about 1.5 liters of Sunny D every single day. Now, it gave the drink a bit of an unfair bad rap for a while, but the cause was exactly the same harmless thing, carotenemia, from all that beta-carotene they added to it. Okay, now we need to shift our tone just a little bit, because the next color we're going to talk about, black, is associated with one of the most serious health conditions there is. So the prefix is melano, which comes from the Greek word for black. This is the root you see in melanin. That's the pigment that gives our skin, our hair, and our eyes their color. And that brings us to this incredibly important word, melanoma. Let's say it very clearly. Melanoma. This is a very, very dangerous form of skin cancer. And understanding this word isn't just a fun language exercise. It's about recognizing a term that demands serious and immediate medical attention.
And this right here is where knowing this code becomes absolutely vital. Look at the image on the left. That's a harmless dark streak on a nail called longitudinal melanonychia. Notice how it's consistent, it's regular. But now look at the right. That is a potential subungual melanoma. The huge warning signs are that the streak is irregular, it's changing, or it's widening over time. If you ever see anything that looks like the image on the right on yourself or someone else, it is absolutely essential to get it checked by a doctor right away.
Black also shows up from the Latin root niger. You'll see this most notably in the substantia nigra, which literally translates to black substance. This is a critical area deep in the brain that we know is affected in Parkinson's disease. All right, so from the darkness of black, let's move to white, a color that in medicine is powerfully connected to our body's own defense system, our immune cells.
The prefix you're looking for here is leuko, which comes from the Greek word for white. So whenever you see leuko, I want your brain to immediately connect that to the color white and very often to our white blood cells. This one little prefix unlocks a whole range of really important concepts. First, you've got our heroes, the leukocytes. Let's practice that. Leukocytes. These are the white blood cells that fight off infections for us. But things can go wrong. A word like leukemia, let's say it, leukemia. That's a cancer that involves the overproduction of abnormal white blood cells. And then on the flip side, you have leukopenia. Leukopenia. That's a deficiency, a shortage of those cells, which leaves the body really vulnerable to infection.
And just like we saw with red, there are other roots for white too. The Latin word candidus, which means a bright, glowing white, gives us the name for candida, the yeast that causes things like thrush. And albus, another Latin word for white, is where we get the term albinism.
So let's put it all together. It's really just a simple 3-step decoding process. It's so cool. First, you see the prefix. Let's say it's leuko. Step 2, you know the color. That's white. And step 3, you use that to unlock the word. So leukocyte just becomes white cell. It's that simple. You now have a key to a whole new medical vocabulary.
So there you have it. You've learned the hidden language of color in medicine. It's a code that is literally all around us, just waiting to be deciphered. So the real question is, now that you have the key, what other words are you gonna unlock?